My mother's side came from Russia. Let me see. In 1858. I don't know much more than that they came from Russia. They came from Neuheiser, Germany. My grandma couldn't talk English. She talked German. I couldn't talk to her. I know I stayed with her. Well, that was after Mom died. I stayed with her for a week. And she would talk to me, and then she'd say, "Can you stand me?" And then I'd have to wait till Uncle Otto came in from, they had a farm, to talk to her, from me, because we couldn't talk back and forth. They left Germany in 1893. I had his old stuff written down. To end somewhere in Belgium. From there, they left by passenger ship for the United States. 12 days. Mm-hmm. They were taken off the ship by boat at Ellis Island for inspection. They remained in New York for 2 days, then on to Chicago. They lived with relatives there for some time.
My name is Scott Sevilla. Your great-great-grandmother, Lois Wolfe. She was born in 1897 in Galveston, Texas. And I would say she lived until 1996, so I saw her in the 90s. She was born on X plantation. The stories, and she had it written down on a piece of paper that was copied from a Bible, I guess, in which they showed, and I don't have a copy of that right now, but it showed the family tree kind of going back to 1610, where they came from, I think, England, and settled in Virginia and slowly migrated south towards Texas. I know Virginia and Tennessee, and eventually down in the Texas area, but I can't tell you how long they actually were in Texas. Okay. I don't recall. From my mother's side, her mother's side came from Lois Wolfe in Galveston, Texas. On her father's side, they came from Eastern Europe and settled again through the United States. Your great-grandparents met at Cal in Berkeley. And so they have a history going through Eastern Europe. Lois Wolfe and the Bentals came from England. On my father's side, they came from the Sevillas or Sevillas came from Spain, where being Jewish was not a good thing during the Inquisition, and they had a choice to either convert to Catholicism or be executed. So the story goes as the family got up and left, and they went towards the Middle East. A third of them some went to Egypt, some went to Turkey, and some went to Israel. So that's where they came in. And specifically, my father's ancestors eventually ended up in San Francisco in the early 1900s, late 1800s. And they were auctioneers. So my father's side came from Spain, supposedly. I don't know a lot about where my father's grandmother family came from. Mm-hmm. I think it has to do with some place in Europe, but I don't know Eastern or Western Europe or wherever they came from.
Okay. While researching my mother's ancestry, I found a detailed record of her father, Wilbur Edgar's family tree dating back to the 1700s. The earliest records indicate Edgars living in a small village in West Prussia, or in present-day terms, Germany. From there, the family moved to a village in what is present-day Ukraine. In 1874, my ancestor, Heinrich Edgar, migrated himself and his family to Kansas during a wave of migration to America from the region. Among his children that immigrated was David Edgar, Wilbur's grandfather, my great-great-grandfather. This was all new information to me, not only learning about my late grandfather's heritage, but my grandmother's and my father's as well. Suddenly, I felt the world had shrunk. I had never before felt connections to a place, to land, that stretched back decades, let alone centuries. However, learning about each of my ancestors' journeys to the United States also revealed my family's position within settler colonialism. Heinrich moved his family here, along with a significant portion of their settlement's population. The reason for emigrating was never stated, though we can assume that they began their move having already embraced the manifest destiny ideology. Thousands of miles away from our ancestral lands, my great-great-grandfather colonized Kiowa land to exploit its resources for his own gain. And while such an expansive record did not exist on my father's side, I needn't have traveled back farther than his great-grandmother Lois Wolfe, who was raised on a plantation, to find direct ties to slave ownership. Once again, my family was engaged in settler colonial practice and ideology. This instance, however, included the enslavement of a displaced diaspora of indigenous people from Africa, as well as the exploitation of tribal lands of the Karankawa people where the Wolfe family plantation resided. I am glad to have learned about these histories of my family. There's a power in knowing where I come from, and that is something I hadn't felt previously. It is also powerful to acknowledge the ways in which I and my family have benefited from subjugating groups of people that have been marginalized throughout history. I intend to utilize this knowledge when engaging with family members and with others who have ancestral histories like mine. Most of all, I will carry on my family's history so that no facet may ever be erased, and use my newfound knowledge to better uplift the marginalized people whose exploitation my family has benefited from.